Hello and welcome to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube page. I'm Kyle Boone, college basketball writer at CBS Sports. With me today, the one and the only Mr. Cover 3 himself, Chip Patterson. Again, doing a little crossover edition here. We just broke down the East region on the YouTube page today, and now we are breaking down the West region. Chipster, hello again. Are you ready to break down the West region of the 2024 NCAA Tournament bracket?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's go. Let's go. All right. In the West region, here we go. Let's break down the top 4 seeds. We have number 1 seed, North Carolina. Number 2 seed, Arizona. Number 3 seed, Baylor. And the number 4 seed in the West region, Alabama. Chip, I will hand it over to you. Let's take a look at 3 storylines we need to know heading into the West region of the bracket.
This region has so many of the teams that I do not trust. This region has, you could say it's the easiest, but I could also paint you scenarios where, Alabama is a nightmare to play against because know that when the threes are falling, the Tide are almost impossible to keep up with. You just can't trade paint with those guys. But the problem is they don't defend worth a lick, and the threes don't always fall. And that's why we saw Alabama be a little bit inconsistent, especially over the back half of the conference schedule. Arizona, same thing. When everything is sunny and everything's beautiful, the Wildcats look like one of the best teams in the country. Their efficiency numbers are off the charts. Baylor, same kind of ceiling with NBA talent, incredible offense, but also a floor that can be determined by, some defensive breakdowns. I know they've even tried to, scheme things around and change up the way that they play mid-season to alleviate some of that. St. Mary's, a team that because they play so slow, it feels like they could get beat by anybody, but they also won in the kennel. They beat Gonzaga on their home floor. I've got to respect them. So, and then the top seed, North Carolina, a team that, as we have seen, is capable of defeating Tennessee and also capable of losing to an NC State team that is on its 5th game in 5 days when you've got a 2-day rest advantage. It is all, you could call it the easiest. I don't know if I want to say easiest, but I will say that of the top, and Clemson, can't trust Clemson at all. So what? No. I've gotten down to top 6 seeds, untrustworthy. Would not let them house sit, would not let them dog walk. They let my dog off the leash, and that would be bye-bye to Fido. So West region, the untrustworthy region.
Man, shout out to Fido. Yeah, I think that's right on. I'll name 2 storylines off the top here that I think are pretty interesting. You kind of hit on them. North Carolina as the number 1 seed in this West region makes a lot of sense. Preseason number 1 last year, first ever preseason number 1 to miss the NCAA tournaments. They're now back on the number 1 seed line. They won the ACC regular season. RJ Davis been, I think, probably a first-team All-American. He's been fantastic. They still have Armando Bacot in his 15th season. They were the runner-ups in the national championship game to Kansas in 2022 under Hubert Davis. So North Carolina potentially running it back and avenging themselves to win it all. I think it would be really interesting. Also, I would note here, number 15 seed Long Beach State in the field here. They draw number 2 seed Arizona. Long Beach State in the field for the first time in 12 years. And the school effectively fired Dan Munson earlier this week. They said, they gave him the courtesy, said that they would allow him to coach out until the end of the season. In a shocker, Long Beach State won 3 games in 3 days. They won the Big West. They clinch the league's automatic NCAA tournament berth. Obviously, it's a brutal, brutal draw getting the 15 seed in the West and a really good Arizona team. But Dan Munson, man, Long Beach State, it's a fun story. I mean, I don't think I'm going to pick them to win, but Long Beach State getting into the NCAA tournament under the circumstances, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Dan Munson and Tommy Lloyd, both Gonzaga assistants.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, Munson was the head coach at Gonzaga prior to Mark Few for just a few seasons, but he was an assistant for the Bulldogs for almost a decade, I believe. So lots of Gonzaga love with that Arizona and Long Beach State matchup there in the first. I did think that this is also, like, in terms of storylines, this is the location of one of our great places where seeding analysis and the betting markets converge.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of, hands in the air about the fact that the selection committee chair said that New Mexico was not going to make the field if they had not won what was a thrilling Mountain West Conference tournament final. So they absolutely squeak in on the auto bid. And to show how out of line the selection committee is with the betting markets, New Mexico's favored. This team that would not have been in the field is a favorite of nearly a possession against the 6 seed Clemson Tigers. Again, those untrustworthy Tigers. So, that's an interesting spot for us to be able to take all the different tools at our disposal. Other storylines that stand out here. Michigan State makes the field. Tom Izzo, now 26 straight NCAA tournaments. He set the record last year at 25. And then the other thing from a storyline perspective, do you remember in the North Carolina 2022 run? I'm sure you remember Caleb Love ending Coach K's career. A lot of people.
I remember that. Yes.
Do you remember the second round game for North Carolina?
Who did they draw? Second round game. I was not there for that one.
So North Carolina was an 8 seed in the 2022 NCAA tournament. They had to go on that incredible run just to get themselves safely into the field, something that they did when they beat Kay and Cameron. So that means that they were an 8 seed. Their path included having to take down a 1. And they beat Baylor, the 3 seed in this region, in one of the craziest. I mean, like, the NCAA tournament gives us 6 to 10 insane.
Dude, that game was nuts.
Yeah. Where it's like, it was really sloppy. Bodies are hitting the floor, turnovers all over the place, huge, like 7-8 point swings back and forth. Doesn't it end up going to overtime too?
It was overtime. Yes. 93-86. Carolina won it in
overtime. I mean, it's just like, it's that. And remember the FAU Memphis first round game last year. I mean, It is the smallest margins for some of these deep runs in the NCAA tournament. Teams that make it to the Final Four, teams that make it to the national championship game, we always go back and we're like, man, one different bounce, and this could have played out differently. I wonder if North Carolina and Baylor end up meeting up in this region, because that would be a fun chance for us to flash back to that insane second round game from a couple years ago.
I need it. That was a great refresher. God, that was a good game. One of the best. And I can't believe I totally forgot about it. Let's go to the top half of the bracket, Chipper. And if you're watching on YouTube, scan over. Check out the screen here. Grab your bracket. Follow along. Fade us. Follow us. Whatever you want to do. We're going to start off on the top half of the bracket in the West region and then eventually move down to the bottom half of the bracket. Here are the matchups. Number 1 seed, North Carolina, gets the winner of number 16 seed, Howard or Wagner. Number 8 seed, Mississippi State, draws number 9 seed, Michigan State. Number 5 seed, St. Mary's, draws number 12 seed, Grand Canyon. And number 4 seed, Alabama, draws number 13 seed, College of Charleston. Chip, any team or teams, again, going back to underseeded, overseeded, stand out to you in this pod? To me, I think the one team that sticks out is Michigan State. Palm had them in as one of his last 4 in, and they're in the field as a 9 seed, pretty comfortably in the NCAA tournament field. I think probably the committee gave the Spartans a lot of credit for, maybe some deference to Tom Izzo, and they played okay this season, but I would have liked to see maybe some other teams ahead of them, or any team or teams stick out to you as underseeded, overseeded in this region? This top
No,
half?
yeah, nothing seeding wise I've got too much of an issue with there.
Yeah.
You mentioned Michigan State 19-14. That's just kind of it's a startling record to see in the NCAA tournament when you don't even get to 20 wins and you've got
Yeah.
more than a dozen losses right there. I do think that for St. Mary's, they have a pod that will either turn out swimmingly or terribly. You know,
Yes.
like yeah, right. Like clash of styles here. You know, you get if you get past Bryce Drew, and I'm sure Bryce will care. If you get past Bryce Drew in Grand Canyon, you're either playing Alabama or Charleston.
Oof.
Man, that's a. And it's funny because St. Mary's has not been to the Sweet 16 since 2010.
Yeah.
A lot of
That's a
NCAA
crazy stat.
Yeah, a lot of NCAA tournament appearances, no Sweet 16 since 2010. I think that is a here in the top half. That is a feast or famine proposition for the Gales. They are either going to get all these other teams out of their comfort zone, or they're going to find themselves going home again without a Sweet 16 appearance.
That's crazy. Yeah. And I would love to see Alabama, St. Mary's in that second round. There's a lot of
Oil
interesting
and
matchups.
water. Oil and water.
Oof. Oof. I mean, Alabama loves to push the pace. They shoot a ton of threes. St. Mary's, they like to slow you down, and they're really old. They're really experienced. This team probably has, I think, arguably the most continuity among all NCAA tournament teams this year. So they play really well. Their defense is fantastic. It would be an interesting matchup. Chipper, which team or teams do you see as potential bracket busters in this pod? We went over the East region, and my bracket buster was a 5 seed. And I feel like I'm kind of cheating here a little bit, but I have to go with the 5 seed again, St. Mary's. I really believe that St. Mary's could make the Final Four. They were 15-1 in WCC play. As you noted, they won in the kennel at Gonzaga. They have an aggressive defense. They have a slow pace. They have Randy freaking Bennett as their coach. Ton of continuity. A team that just like totally trust each other. And I've always thought this season that the St. Mary's team has been just a smidge underrated, underappreciated. They could end up being a bracket buster team that breaks through to the Final Four. Who do you like in this top half of the bracket?
No one.
No.
I've got if we want to go to the bottom, I've got some teams in the bottom that could cause some problems and make some noise. But
Let's do it.
I think that in general, you're talking about Grand Canyon, Charleston, like this. I'm just not getting. Of course, since I'm saying no one, I watch it be the place where the craziest stuff happens. But I think it's that 11. I think it's New Mexico. I just
agreed.
All season long, my analysis as they continued to rack up conference losses, I'd be on CBS Sports HQ or I'd be on Sportsline's Early Edge, and I'd say New Mexico is better on paper than in performance, that their pieces are as talented as anybody in the conference and most teams they play against, but they were losing close games, and they lost a lot of close games. That's why their efficiency numbers remained pretty strong, even as the losses started to pile up. But man, that was a motivated group, and the sense of urgency is with them. Jalen House, Jamal Mashburn, JT Toppin. I mean, that's those three against. I mean, they're going to sit there, and they might have to play Baylor with lottery picks on the team. But if they could get past them, I mean, Dayton, Nevada. I mean, that is a New Mexico team that could really take it as far as we see most 11 seeds go. So the big bracket buster for me is going to be New Mexico. And on that Mountain West note, I would not be surprised to see Nevada, cause some problems even for Arizona. I don't think Dayton's going to be much of an issue. And then if Colgate beats Baylor, I will be surprised. I know everyone loves Matt Langle. I will be surprised. But that said, have you ever used you can either do efficiency profile or resume profile on Bart Torvik?
I have, yes.
Do you know what Baylor's efficiency profile shows up as when you look at their efficiency profile and how those teams that they're matched up with perform in the NCAA tournament?
Oh, I mean, Baylor probably has to be pretty high, right?
Well, so the teams that Baylor's efficiency profile, and the way that Bart Torvik does it is he takes your offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, your tempo, your talent ratings, and it like finds teams since 2008 which match your profile the most. The teams that
Okay.
Baylor is matched with are on opposite ends of the spectrum. Those teams have either been bounced in the first round or made the Elite Eight. And that feels so perfect for Baylor in this tournament. Because you could tell me Baylor's going to make the Final Four, and I'd believe it. You could tell me Baylor's going to lay an egg against Colgate, and I'd believe it. I love that tool in general, but I also love when it really fits my expectation for a team, because teams that have electric offense, defensive issues, play at the pace that Baylor has, somewhat similar talent, they either flame out in the first round or they carry it all the way to the Elite Eight. So
yeah,
that's the Colgate Baylor take. Is if it happens, I will be surprised, but I can't say I didn't see it coming for a team with those sorts of qualities.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. Baylor, just by the way, ton of talent. Jacoby Walter, Eves Misi. I mean, they have two guys who could end up being like top 5 picks in the 2024 NBA draft. They're really old. They're really experienced. They shoot the three at a high level. But yeah, it also feels like a little bit volatile. I think it'll be an interesting matchup. Let's move down to the bottom half of the bracket since we're already there. Why not? Let's read off the matchups. Number 6 seed Clemson gets number 11 seed New Mexico. We'd love to see it. We'd love to see it. Number 3 seed Baylor draws number 14 Crest. Oh, Colgate. Just kidding. Number 7 seed Dayton gets number 10 seed Nevada, and number 2 seed Arizona draws number 15 seed Long Beach State. Chip, one time for the one time, underseeded, overseeded in this pod. I think we both agree New Mexico as an 11 is a joke. I thought it was one of the worst misses for the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee. I think they were an 8 at worst. You look at Ken Palm, they're number 23 overall in all of college basketball. Torvik has them at 26. Kind of a theme, but just like some general disrespect for the Mountain West, in my opinion. You agree? I guess we don't even have to probably dispute this too much. We both probably thought New Mexico was just a smidge underseeded.
Yeah, and I guess I would go Dayton maybe as a little bit high. They're at 7. There are lots and lots of teams on the 8 line, 9 line, 10 line, all the way down to New Mexico there at 11 that I think I'm a little bit more bullish on than the Flyers. But I mean, the committee doesn't seed them based on vibes heading into the tournament. That's just how I pick them.
That's right. Yeah. We love the vibes. We love good vibes. And that is why, of course, I've got New Mexico over Clemson in the 6-11 game. I'll let you pick your bracket buster for this bottom half of the West region. But yeah, New Mexico is rolling right now. Clemson is not rolling right now. New Mexico over Clemson, I think, is going to be a very trendy pick. New Mexico ran through the Mountain West Conference tournament. They looked fantastic. One of the most fun teams, one of the most likable teams. And Clemson coming off a 76-55 loss to Boston College in the ACC tournament. Wah, wah. What do you like as far as bracket busters are concerned in this bottom half of the bracket?
Yeah, how about bottom half of the bracket? I can envision 3 double-digit seeds winning.
Oh, give it to me.
Yeah, all right. So New Mexico over Clemson, like we said earlier, Lobos are the betting favorite in that game. Nevada over Dayton, that one makes it easy. And then how about if we're just getting crazy with it, either a Colgate over a Baylor or maybe a Long Beach State over an Arizona. Look, I am going to be in it. I will not be early on Arizona. Okay? Like
Agreed.
I will be late on Arizona. You will have to show it to me because they are a sunny team. And when everything's going well, then, they look like one of the best teams in the country. But that is not what you get in the NCAA tournament. So I think Arizona is going to win. I don't know if they're going to cover. I think the number's like 20.5 or something like
It's
that.
big. Yeah. Yeah.
But this bottom half of the West region is where I think we see multiple lower seeds advance on to the weekend.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. And Long Beach State, by the way, 15 seed. Arizona, the number 2 seed. Uh, Arizona has a history of losing way too early in the NCAA tournament. You have to go all the way back to last year. Arizona, the 2 seed, lost to number 15 seed Princeton, 59-55. That was a bracket buster, a true stunner. Again, don't think Long Beach State has quite the goods, but the vibes, if you're picking off vibes, the vibes around Long Beach State, fantastic right now. I love this story for Long Beach State. Really, really fun. Who is your favorite first round matchup from this region, either top half or bottom half of the bracket? Pick whatever one that you like, Mr. Chip.
Man, we keep coming back to Clemson, New Mexico.
I know.
Yeah. All right. So look, let me then make an argument for the other case. Alabama and Charleston. It is going to look like Saturday night at NBA All-Star Weekend, because these two teams are just going to be jogging back up and down the court, and they are going to be chucking three-pointers. Both of these teams, let's see, they are the number 3 and the number 4 team in the NCAA tournament field in terms of their three-point rate, something that KB mentioned earlier in terms of what percentage of your shots are three-pointers. Those top 4 teams, BYU, Creighton, Charleston, and Alabama. So it's just going to be looking for the money ball all night there in Spokane, Washington, between Alabama and Charleston. If you like the deep ball, that's going to be a fun one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. And Alabama's been really fun to watch on offense. They've been, the worst they've ever been under Nate Oates defensively, but it's kind of like Kentucky. Like, if you score 110 points, it's really hard to get beat. So this team, they shoot a lot of threes. They're really fun offensively. If they made a deep run, it wouldn't be totally surprising. If they get bounced in the first round against this Charleston team, also wouldn't be terribly surprising. My favorite first round matchup is going to be Dayton, Nevada, in the 7-10. Dayton has dudes everywhere. Feel like they've kind of underperformed relative to expectations. I expected them to play a little better this season. I thought from a talent perspective, they were the best team in the A10, but they did not perform like that. Deron Holmes, though, one of the most underrated players, underappreciated players in college basketball this season. He is a dominant big man, and I hope that the college basketball world writ large is introduced to Deron Holmes in a way that we have been treated to this season. He's fantastic. Nevada has won 7 of its last 8 games leading into the NCAA tournament. Obviously, I think the Mountain West is probably out to prove itself after, getting 6 teams in the NCAA tournament, but largely I think being underseeded in a lot of those. So that will be a fun one to watch. And I think obviously whoever gets the win there would draw, potentially number 2 seed Arizona or number 15 seed Long Beach State in the second round, which would be fascinating. Okay, we're almost out of here, Chip. Name your Cinderella squad. Give me your Elite 8 and your region winner. Who do you got? Who do you got? Who do you got?
All right. So for my Cinderella squad, it's going to be coming from the bottom half. Yeah, we're going to go with New Mexico. That's a team that I think could beat on any given day anybody down there in that bottom half of the region. But it is not my official pick, because my Elite 8 matchup for the NCAA Tournament West region is North Carolina and Baylor, rematching that wild second round game. I think it would be a classic, but I'll give the Tar Heels the edge, because while Misi really helps Baylor create problems down low, North Carolina's got size and they've got depth of size to be able to neutralize some of that pretty good defense, 3-point defense as well. So I've got the Tar Heels, the 1 seed, emerging from the West, defeating Baylor in the Elite 8.
Yeah, I like it. I'm going to go Long Beach State. No, I can't do it. New Mexico is going to be my Cinderella pick officially. They've played fantastic. The vibes around this team are absolutely immaculate. They're spectacular. Richard Pitino, great coach. This team is playing at a high level. Jalen House playing with so much confidence, with so much swag. You love to see it. I feel like they're out to prove something, and they are really rolling at just the right time. I don't know if they'll make it out of this region. I'm not going to pick it, but it wouldn't be totally surprising if number 11 seed New Mexico makes it out of the West region. They have been really, really good over the last week plus, really. But I mean, really over the last 3 weeks. I think they've been really, really impressive. My Elite Eight teams, got to go with North Carolina. The number 1 seed feels a little bit chalky. And then I'll go with Arizona. Arizona, it's tough. It's tough. I feel like the ceiling, the floor combination of Arizona just wildly, wildly high. And this is a tough pod to break out of, but North Carolina, Arizona, it's going to be my pick. I think Arizona advances to the Final Four to face UConn. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. It's just riding your Final Four hopes, the whole corner of the bracket on a team that can't even make a deep run anymore. Yeah, sure.
It doesn't feel great, Chip. It does not feel great.
Yeah, the Arizona, according to Evan Miyakawa, one of their key metrics is blocks. And sometimes the key metrics tool makes it really simple because they have so much size that when they play teams that they are just able to physically impose their will at the around the rim, they just win.
Yeah.
But when they can't get blocks, they lose. So what teams might run into Arizona with the bigs that can bang with Omar Ballo? That's really the key for me.
Carolina. It's a good matchup.
Great matchup.
Would be a really good matchup. Okay, let's get out of here, Chip. This is the West Region bracket preview. If you're listening to this on YouTube, thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube page. Subscribe to the Eye on College Basketball podcast YouTube channel, or just regular channel podcast, wherever you get your podcast at. Spotify is where I get my podcast. And thank you for listening. We've got region previews from every region on the YouTube page momentarily. David Cobb and Adam Finkelstein will also be breaking down the other 2 regions on the YouTube page. So that's it. That's going to do it for us. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, and we'll see you again real soon. Take care.